if I was growing up and this was a Star Wars story that I ran into, and suddenly I go, wow, that's a Latina playing a lead in this game. And I mean, it would have blown my mind if Kay Vess was alive when I learned about Star Wars. So I know that this will be an inspiration to someone like that, to any, Canadian or immigrant or a woman of color or a woman in general in the industry, that it is possible, and don't let people box you in and tell you that you're only going to be one color or one tone. Because we're really not. We can be very complex, and there's a lot of duality.
Humberly, Nikki, thank you both so much for sharing your time with us on the Movie Podcast. We had the chance of playing 90 minutes of this game, and it wasn't enough. So other than us asking about, obviously, all the work that you put into it, we need to know when we could play it. So hopefully soon. But no, seriously, we just want to know, Humberly, for yourself, this was such a journey from the auditions, not knowing that you were going to be joining Star Wars. What was your first reaction to seeing the first footage of Kay on screen?
Oh, I remember we were in Montreal filming, and the team said, hey, we have something prepared for you. And I believe it was the very first trailer that we were about to drop, because I had seen some cinematics and things, but they're still pretty raw footage of our motion capture put together. But when they showed us the trailer for the first time, I think that was the first pin drop of, the magnitude of what this will be. I had goosebumps the entire time. They even recorded us watching it and showed it to the team, because it's such a group effort. It's such a collaboration. I'm leading it, but I would be nothing without a team. Like, who am I leading? Being led by who? What words am I saying? So it was such an awe-striking moment that I was seeing right in front of my eyes what we had made, the music coming together, the colors, the world, the fact that I'm mostly looking at cameras and the volume, and it's just like black and white and pieces of wood and neon tape. And it all just became so magical, and it just literally transformed into Star Wars.
Still now, if we release a new trailer or anything, I'm like,
yeah, baby.
Yeah, truly, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, getting to see your work and your words, coming through Humberly there, like, what was that like for you?
Amazing. It was awesome. I mean, like, you, as a screenwriter, you don't feel like the page is anything until you hear it in someone's mouth. And, we spent so long trying to find the perfect Kay, and we did. And when that all clicked together, it was magical. It really felt like, oh, okay, yeah. Because we all, for so long, spent so much time and energy into, like, how do we want Kay to exist in this world? How do we want her to move through it? How does she talk? How does she respond to these things? And we had like a medium idea that I think we were all like, this is it. Wahoo. And then when we heard Humberly say some of the lines, like in her audition, it was like, oh, yeah, wait a second. Like, now it's real. Now she's a real character. She's not just a concept drawing. She's not just like whoever in the writer's room is going to read her that day, So that really felt like affirming in a way, I think, for the whole team of like, oh, we were so close. And then we got that final thing. And now, like, this character is just here. And it's weird to think that, like, she didn't exist ever, because I feel like she takes up such a huge part of my life and brain now that it's wild to look back like 3 years, 4 years and be like, oh, yeah, she wasn't around then. And I'm really excited. I hope people feel the same way when they get to meet her fully.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we love what we've seen so far and we've got to play. And we love that you were talking about this experience of, getting together in the writer's room, getting together and kind of pitching all these amazing ideas that were almost like non-negotiables or things that you really wanted to see within the game. What were some of the things that you kind of brought forward, Nikki?
Oh, interesting. I have to go into the Wayback Machine in my brain. There was like one big one for me, which is that I really wanted to see more, so Lucasfilm has this phrase, background weirdos, which I mentioned before, which are like the aliens that are just in the background to add flavor, but telling their stories. For me, a big one was having female background weirdos, because I felt like a lot of the time, like iconic aliens that we interact with in Star Wars are all dudes, and I thought like what a good opportunity. So when I see characters like Donka, who is this Mon Cala information broker on Tashara, I feel like very proud and happy. And a lot of these characters, like we push because we want Outlaws to feel grounded and not be too kooky, silly, but still have that like Star Wars DNA of like a weird alien talking to you. So we would push those characters sometimes and try to see how far we could get. And then we would get a voice talent. Like the Donka voice actress is just like incredible. She just has this like voice. And so like,
I can't even do it.
Yeah, it's great. So that was my big one. And I feel like, yeah, it was something that we accomplished. I'm really happy.
We need more background weirdos. Just I think just in life
In general, absolutely.
Yeah, feels like it in this.
Yeah.
100%.
Speaking of things that we've brought to Star Wars, Humberly, for yourself, I'm just curious. Naveed told us that when you came in, even the way you were sitting, it was like, oh, that's Kay. Like we knew that's Kay. So I'm curious, what did you take from Kay, and now feels like it's part of you?
Honestly, she is someone who fearlessly goes after what she wants. Even if she gets in trouble, she'll learn from it. She doesn't really live in that victim mentality. She's flawed and vulnerable, but she doesn't really linger in that. And that's really inspiring to me that, as humans, we all have a dream. We all have motivators and goals in life. And what usually keeps us from it is our fear of failure, our fear of, not fitting in or not being a part of something. And she reminds me that if you try really hard, and sometimes if you charm your way through it, you get some new skills. There's a process to it all. You don't just wake up a hero and you don't become the best version of yourself one day just because you decide. There is trial and error. There is growing pains. There is effort. And Kay reminds me of that effort.
I love that. And I think, too, just like in the grand scheme of Star Wars, I think it's amazing that we're having a game that's a woman-led game. We have a woman-led writer. So there's just so much more, I think, nuance that we're getting of perspectives that we don't always get to see in this galaxy.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious for both of you, what did that mean for you to be able to tell a story like that?
Definitely important. The representation of that is incredible for me. I love that even within this game that there isn't a male counterpart that someone has a choice of leaning into. We're focusing on this one storyline, and it just so happens to be this woman who is a young woman who is going through a journey, and she still gets to be badass. She still gets to fight. She still gets to do all the things that, a male protagonist would do. But it is a different perspective because she is played by a woman, written, like inspired by. And so I think there just needs to be more stories like that. If I was growing up and this was a Star Wars story that I ran into and suddenly I go, wow, that's a Latina playing a lead in this game. And I mean, it would have blown my mind if Kay Vess was alive when I learned about Star Wars. So I know that this will be an inspiration to someone like that, to any, Canadian or immigrant or a woman of color or a woman in general in the industry, that it is possible. And don't let people box you in and tell you that you're only going to be one color or one tone. Because we're really not. We can be very complex, and there's a lot of duality. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Damn. Yeah.
That's a wrap.
One of us talks for a living, and one of us sits at a computer like a gremlin for a living. Yeah. It's amazing. No, I really love what you said. I think for me, I've always just wanted to tell the best story I can tell in anything I'm writing. It was one of the pieces of advice given to me when I was first starting out, was like, don't let any job be like beneath you, whatever you think that is. And I've always had that idea, so that when this came to me and it was like my absolute dream come true, I felt really ready because I knew that I had given it my all before, and now I could give it my all on something that I felt like resonated so much with me. What you said about like being a kid and seeing this, like when I think about that, my brain explodes. Like if I was like 12 years old when this came out, I feel like, I don't know what would have been different. Something would have. I don't know what though. But to me, that's what I always try to hold on to, is like, not everyone's going to like everything, and that's totally fine. To me, if there's like a bunch of tweens or kids or whatever girls that play this and are like, oh, that was sick. Like, okay, sweet. Job done, happy. And honestly, like having a full team of people that all want that and are all working towards that and so supportive of each other, like it's, yeah.
That's awesome. You guys talked about also when you got to watch Humberly play the game and kind of get those reactions from you real time. So, real curious here, what's your play style? Like, do you kind of just run and gun or do you go stealth? And Nikki, also for you, curious as well.
I'm so non-confrontational when it comes in games. Like, I'd rather just speed away from them and be like, ha, suckers, you could never catch me. And then go pet some animals so that my nervous system is not, like, fried. I love stealth. I do love sneaking around. I'm super down for, like, a stealth attack and just put you to sleep. Kay really is so fearless that there are times where you do need to fight and you do need to face your fears. And yes, there are rancors. And I remember filming that scene and I was like, I'm scared. And I don't know how I'm going to act through this, but I want to try to be more like Kay and face my fears. And I really want to get better at aiming and like not just aimlessly shooting and hoping that it hits, So I want to get better at feeling proud of like, oh, I planned this and shot you right where I want it and I got my way. Playing video games is a very impressive skill to me. I'm like an Animal Crossing person, very wholesome, but I'm definitely going to play this game I'm not biased. There's no biased reasons. It's just an amazing game. There's none at all. But I hope that there will be moments where I get to play it and there will be people around me because I'm sure that it'll be very enjoyable for them to be like, oh yeah, I'm talking to myself as myself, but then sometimes that's Kay. So it's like, is that her inner voice? Sometimes that's Nick's. I don't know. It's all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I also love that stealthily attacking someone isn't violence to you. No need for violence. It's different.
Pacified violence.
They didn't see you. It's fine. It doesn't count. They're just sleeping. They're tired. Yeah.
There are some.
I am a methodical player. I love stealing everything. If there is an object I can steal, it will be stolen. So I really I got to make sure every square inch of the ground is covered. I hate missing things. Yeah. And I think too, we have a team that made these small quests in the world that Kay can interact with, and they're really fun and they add so much texture to the world. So I'm always methodical because I want to see what that little story playing out is, or they added this animation or they added this prop or they added this reaction. I think in the demo there's a great one with this droid little astromech who's very depressed, and if you talk to him it's well, okay, I guess I have to solve this problem now. So yeah, I always want to make sure I'm seeing everything.
If you could summarize, in 3 words or less, your time working on this project, on Star Wars Outlaws, what would the 3 words be?
Out of this world.
Oh, wait, it's more.
Dang it. Can you do math?
Out of world.
Out of world.
Out of this world.
Yes.
My 3 will be not going to be a sentence. It'll be dream. What's a word for hard but fun? I don't know. That challenging. Yeah. And I think just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that we got to do this. This is someone gave us money to do this. That's crazy.
But I must add, you said something that's really inspiring, which I also connected to, which is it might be unbelievable, but we've both worked so hard to be here, and I think it was just the right time.
Yeah.
You have been such a fan and you've worked so hard in your career that when you said, I was just ready for this. And I felt the same way when it was revealed to me that it was Star Wars, and I said, yeah, I could lead this. There wasn't this imposter moment of oh, I'm not sure, because I think when you ask for the things that you want and they come, you got to say yes.
You spoke about, your parents in the Venezuelan community, and you spoke about your brother and how showing them the game or really telling them that you're part of this game was so big. What do you want them to experience if they get a chance to play it or get to see you play? What is it what you really want them to take away from that?
I think it reminds me a lot of how I grew up and my roots, because like her, I didn't come from a lot, and a lot of my family is still back home. Venezuela, unfortunately, has a lot of poverty, a lot of political turmoil even now. I can't go back home yet. And there's this sense of freedom. Ooh, that's going to make me cry, but liberty is so important for people. And freedom really allows us to be our best versions. And I think humans are so magical. We all have this unique gift to the world, which is why there's so many of us and we all learn from each other. We're all mirrors of each other. Kay Vess has that. She has a dream. She wants more for herself, even if she's a bit of a lone wolf, because she's been kind of, I guess, she feels like the world is rigged against her. And a lot of the times when people grow up in very challenging cultures and places in the world, that is what the world feels like, but it does not mean that you need to give up. I think there can always be resilience and choosing love over fear, choosing justice over just good over bad. There's always a fight between good and evil, and Kay Vess inspires me in that way, that anytime I got to step into her shoes, I always thought of home.
Love that.
For me, what I want my family, my brother especially, my friends, I think just like people, but my brother especially, is like the feeling of having something that feels special to you. And I think a lot of people, Star Wars feels very special to them in a very personal way. I know it's huge and everyone knows what it is, but at the same time, people do feel like they own a little part of it, or that they love a part of it that no one else does. And I think for me, this game was trying to get as much of those moments in as possible, of like, oh, I want to be obsessed with the way that this character Bosnock says a line at this part, and I want like us to be quoting that to each other when we walk around the house because we're being silly, you know? So to me, that's always like, I want to make something special to people. And yeah, especially like in that way of like sharing like a special thing together.
Well, we can't wait to play the full game and spend hours, especially with Nix, because that's like the most fun part of it.
Of course.
And we're going to be starting the campaign to have Humberly play Kay Vess in a movie one day as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's going to happen.
We just started a petition on it.
Yes. Yeah.
Also,
100%.
we love Nick so much that, Nikki made me earrings.
Oh.
These are one-of-a-kind Nick's earrings.
Damn.
And I'm wearing them today for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Love
like,
it.
there's so much heart.
Disneyland needs to start selling them.
Yes. Yes.
The talent is really multifaceted here.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you both so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.